You're watching your friend's circle shrink in real time, and you can't stop it. Every conversation feels like you're speaking a different language. Every interaction leaves you exhausted. Every friendship requires you to be someone you're no longer capable of being. You used to have dozens of friends. Now you can count your real connections on one hand, maybe none. Carl Jung called this the loneliness of consciousness. He discovered that spiritual awakening doesn't just change what you know, it changes who you can connect with. And for most people, the answer becomes almost no one. I'm about to reveal why Jung believed that losing friends isn't a side effect of awakening. It's proof of awakening. Why the most conscious people are often the most alone. And why this loneliness is actually a threshold to something deeper than friendship ever was. Here's what Jung understood. Friendship, as most people experience it, requires unconsciousness, shared delusions, agreed upon surfaces, collective avoidance of depth, and it only works when everyone stays asleep together. Typical friendship is built on complaining about the same things, gossiping about the same people, sharing unquestioned beliefs, validating each other's victim stories, avoiding anything too real, and performing complementary personas. Before awakening, this felt natural, but Jung discovered that the moment you wake up, you become incompatible with unconscious connection. You can see the mechanisms, you feel the shallowness, you recognize the games, and you can't unsee it. So, the friendships fall away. Not through drama, just a slow, quiet dissolving. You're not abandoning your friends. Your consciousness is outgrowing the container friendship required. Jung's first insight: friendship was based on who you pretended to be, not who you actually are. And awakening kills your ability to pretend. You had different versions of yourself for different friends. The work friend, the party friend, the intellectual friend. Each friendship was based on a specific persona you could perform. But Jung discovered that individuation destroys these personas. Your psyche won't let you perform them anymore. It's like your soul develops an allergy to falseness. One of Jung's patients described meeting her oldest friend for coffee. I couldn't speak. Every sentence felt fake before it left my mouth. She wanted the old me, the one who complained about the same things, laughed at the same jokes. But that person doesn't exist anymore. I sat there unable to be who she needed me to be. We haven't spoken since. This is the death of the persona, and it kills most friendships with it. Your friends didn't know yourself. They knew your mask. When the mask disintegrates, they're sitting across from a stranger. Jung observed this pattern repeatedly. Patients would report losing friend after friend through incompatibility. The friends wanted the old persona. The awakened person could only offer the authentic self. And there was no bridge between them. You start to realize most of your friendships were never really you connecting with really them. It was your persona connecting with their persona. Two masks having a conversation. And once you take off your mask, you see everyone else is still wearing theirs. As your consciousness rises, your energetic frequency literally repels unconsciousness. You've done shadow work, integrated darkness, faced wounds, become more conscious. This creates what Jung called individuated presence, that unconscious people find deeply uncomfortable, not because you're judging them, but because your presence reminds them of what they're avoiding. Your light illuminates their shadow. Your authenticity reveals their performance. A therapist who studied with Jung described this. After my awakening, people started avoiding me without knowing why. Friends would cancel plans repeatedly. I wasn't doing anything different, just being myself. Then I realized my presence was triggering their unconscious material. Being around me made them uncomfortable with their own avoidance. Jung called this the curse of consciousness. You become a walking reminder of what people are running from. Your peace reminds them of their anxiety. Your authenticity reveals their performance, not through any action, through pure presence. You walk into a room and feel the energy shift. Conversations become stilted. People become guarded. You're not being excluded consciously. Unconsciousness is protecting itself from consciousness. Jung observed that his most conscious patients would feel their presence trigger others. The masks going up, the walls coming up. One woman said, "I feel like I'm radiating something that makes people need to defend against me. Not because I'm threatening, because I'm real. And realness is the most threatening thing to someone living in falseness." Jung identified something specific. Awakened people develop a physical intolerance to small talk. Surface conversation creates actual somatic distress. Before awakening, you could do small talk on autopilot. After awakening, your body rebels against conversations that go nowhere, mean nothing, avoid everything real. One of Jung's patients described a networking event. "I was making small talk about weather and sports. Suddenly I felt nauseous. My chest got tight. I started sweating. It felt like suffocating. Not from anxiety, from the conversation itself. My soul was screaming, 'This isn't real,' while my mouth kept making polite sounds. I had to leave." This is the body's rejection of inauthenticity. Your nervous system, now calibrated to depth, registers surface engagement as a threat. Small talk creates the same physiological response as danger, because for your awakened consciousness, it is dangerous. It's asking you to vacate your presence, dim your awareness, betray your depth. But most human interaction is small talk. Work conversations, family gatherings, social events. If you can't engage in surface conversation, you can't participate in normal social life. You become the person who makes things heavy, who can't just be light. Jung documented patient after patient who lost their social lives through inability to engage superficially. Every small talk interaction left them depleted, dissociated, feeling like they'd abandoned themselves. Eventually, staying home alone felt more connecting than being with people where connection was impossible. If you're recognizing yourself, if you've been watching friendships dissolve, feeling people pull away, finding small talk unbearable, you're not broken. You're awake. And awakeness is incompatible with how most people do relationship. Before we continue, check out our new guide, True Self-Discovery, with 24 practical reflection exercises designed to help you find your way within. Click below to get True Self-Discovery. Now, these next two patterns reveal why this gets even more isolating. Most friendship is bonding through shared unconsciousness. Complaining, gossiping, blaming, projecting. These aren't bugs in friendship. They're features. And awakened people can't participate anymore. Think about what typical friends do. Complain about others, shadow projection, gossip, avoiding their own material, bond over shared victimhood, staying powerless, validate limiting beliefs, mutual stagnation, drink or numb together, avoiding consciousness. Before awakening, this felt like connection. But Jung discovered these are rituals of unconsciousness, ways groups stay asleep together. A woman described what happened with her friend group. "We used to tear apart everyone we knew. After my awakening, I saw what was really happening. We were projecting our shadows onto others so we wouldn't have to face them in ourselves. Every criticism we made revealed our own disowned traits. I couldn't participate. I became useless to them." Once you recognize collective shadow projection, you can't engage in it, not from moral superiority, from psychological impossibility. It would require you to unknow what you know. But these unconscious rituals are the glue of most social bonds. When you can't participate, you lose access to friendship itself. You become the person who doesn't let us vent, who makes us feel bad, who takes everything too seriously. Jung called this the individuated exile. People who'd completed psychological work found themselves unable to participate in collective activities. Political tribalism, collective victimhood, group outrage, shared complaining, mass movements. The awakened person becomes socially unemployable by any group requiring unconscious participation, which is most groups. Here's Jung's final insight. Awakened people don't lack friends because they're incapable of friendship. They lack friends because they're incapable of false friendship. They've tasted depth and won't settle for surface. Individuation doesn't make you antisocial. It makes you selectively social. You're not rejecting connection. You're refusing false connection. You're not avoiding people. You're available only for real people. And real people are rare. After losing unconscious friendships, there's a period of what Jung called the desert, radical aloneness. This isn't chosen isolation. It's what occurs when you can't go back to shallow connection, but haven't yet found conscious connection. A man told Jung, "I lost all my friends over 2 years. Now I sit alone most nights. I could force myself back into old friendships, but it would require me to be false, and I can't. So I wait for someone who can meet me where I actually am, for a connection that doesn't require me to dim my light, for someone else who's awake." This is the sacred loneliness Jung identified, not the loneliness of being unwanted, the loneliness of being willing to wait for real rather than accepting false. But Jung discovered this waiting isn't passive, it's alchemical. Something profound happens in the aloneness. You stop abandoning yourself for connection. You become your own best friend. You develop a relationship with yourself that's deeper than any external friendship could be. One woman told Jung, "I used to think loneliness was the worst thing. Now I've discovered something worse, being with people and feeling more alone than when I'm by myself. At least when I'm alone, I'm with someone who sees me." This is when something beautiful happens. You start attracting a different quality of person. Not many, maybe 1 or 2 in a lifetime, but people operating at your frequency. People who can meet you in depth. Jung called this soul friendship as opposed to ego friendship. It's not based on shared circumstances or mutual benefit. It's based on mutual consciousness, shared depth, recognition of the self in the other. These friendships are rare, but they're more nourishing than dozens of superficial connections. Jung believed this was evolution in action. The awakened are being prepared for new forms of connection, not based on unconscious bonding, but conscious communion. The loneliness is clearing space for something humanity is still learning to do: relate consciously. Why spiritually awake people don't have many friends? You can't perform your old self. Your frequency repels unconsciousness. Small talk creates physical distress. You can't participate in collective unconsciousness. You're waiting for real connection rather than accepting false connection. This isn't failure at friendship, it's success at consciousness. You're not losing friends, you're losing false connection. You're not becoming antisocial, you're becoming selectively social. Jung would want you to understand, the loneliness is temporary but necessary. It's the space between losing unconscious connection and finding conscious connection. Most people feel this loneliness and run back to unconscious friendship. They choose comfort over courage. But you're different. You've chosen truth over comfort. If you're alone right now, if your phone doesn't ring anymore, if your social calendar is empty, Jung would want you to know you're not broken, you're not unlikable, you're succeeding at consciousness. The loneliness you're feeling is sacred. It's your soul refusing to abandon itself for connection anymore. It's your consciousness protecting what you've worked so hard to develop. Stop forcing yourself into friendships that require you to be false. Stop pretending to care about small talk. Stop performing your old persona. Stop judging yourself for not having many friends. Use this alone time for what Jung called the sacred work of individuation. Develop your relationship with yourself. Become so whole that you're not desperate for connection. Become so authentic that you can only attract authentic connection. Trust that the right people will come. Not many. Jung himself had very few real friends, but they'll see you, not your persona. They'll connect with your depths, not your surface. They'll love your light instead of needing you to dim it. The loneliness of awakening is the price of consciousness. But consciousness is the prerequisite for real connection. One conscious friendship is worth more than 1,000 unconscious ones. Subscribe to this channel where I explore Jung's insights on navigating awakening's loneliness. To dive even deeper into Jung's revolutionary psychology and what it means for your spiritual awakening, click the recommended video on your screen now.